am very honored to announce our opening talk for this event, which is Poikola. Antti develops solutions for the open collaboration between citizens and the public sector organizations. He's active in open data, my data, and cycling movements in Finland and elsewhere. His calling is to work with issues that make cities and urban areas better and more sustainable places to live in. Antti, are you here? Can you please enable your webcam and your
Yes,
microphone?
I'm here.
Oh, should I call you Yogi or should I call you Antti?
Yogi is good.
Yes,
but I wonder,
Yogi
my
sort of
video is not visible, so maybe.
No, that's not good. I was hoping to see your face.
Yes, better
Well,
this way.
okay, now we see you. So, Yogi, please go ahead, and I'm happy to give you the screen.
Okay, thanks a lot. So let me see, can I share my slides here also? I think I have no rights for that. Okay, here I see them. Okay, good. As introduced, my name is Antti Jogi Poikola. I'm a member of My Data Global, an association that seeks to give people access and control over their own data. So I'm very pleased to be here with you in this Swarm beta launch event. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my data, what it is, and then our journey of interoperability. That's kind of the message that I want to pass to you all. So there are lots of technologies being developed at the moment in the world also for more human-centric personal data and sovereignty of people. And it is crucially important that all of the developers also kind of see the bigger picture and try to make the solutions work together, because otherwise we cannot be reaching the human centricity. So my slides are online. You can find them from this short URL. Maybe somebody can even copy it to the chat. So yes, a little bit of my background. So I'm serving the board of My Data Global Association as the vice chair. And I've been developing this concept of human-centric personal data now for the last, I would say, maybe 8 years, starting 2012. And I'm from Finland. I live in Helsinki. And I'm happy to acknowledge that my data was mentioned in the Finnish government agenda already 5 years ago, and now it is being acknowledged by the European Commission in the data strategy. So there is a little bit of political lobbying here happening. So I guess that most of the audience here are mostly from the technical side, and I'm also slightly technical, but I tend to call myself as digitalization lobbyist. And I think we all need to work together to get the best technologies out into use. So there is influence, and politics are important in that case as well. So My Data Global is a nonprofit. It has roughly 600 members, individual members and organizational members. It has members from 50 countries and over 20 local hubs, reaching from Australia and Japan to Silicon Valley and Brazil. Most of the hubs are in Europe, and we have 4 thematic groups, and some of the topics that I will be touching today are coming from the thematic group called My Data Operators. So coming back to that soon. But anyways, first, My Data, it's human-centric personal data management idea for that. So organizations and initiatives are independently converging towards similar ideas about personal data infrastructure management and governance, where the people themselves would be in the driver's seat regarding the use and sharing of data from them and about them. So I'm quite sure that most of the folks here in this launch event also feels like being on this same boat. So My Data Global Association has its aim as fair, sustainable, and prosperous digital society through a human-centric approach to personal data. And we believe that this would give people should get value from their data, and people should set the agenda on how their data is being used. And this would be at the same time also organizations would, the ethical use of data would be always the most attractive option for the organization. So we are trying to reach this balance in the world. And if you go online, you will find the declaration of My Data Principles on mydata.org/declaration. So we have identified 3 big shifts that should happen in the world so that we can get there. So we need to move from formal rights to actionable rights. So everybody knows perhaps the GDPR and new kind of regulations that are popping up in Europe and in other parts of the world. It's good. It's great we have the data protection regulation, but that's not enough if it's not actionable for people. For example, in the GDPR regulation in Europe, there is a Article 20 that says that we should get our digital data in machine readable format. Fine, that's great piece of legislation, but we need to have the tools to actually make that right useful for people. And then other shift is that we need to move our mindset from data protection only to empower people with their data. So it's not, well, you can say that people who are locked in a jail are very safe and protected. Nobody can hit them, and they are not suffering from bad weather. But anyways, they are not empowered, they are not free. So I think we need to keep on having the good data protection, but also climbing up to the ladders of giving people the benefits from their data. And this means that technically we need to move from closed to open ecosystems, interoperability on technical level, and also business-wise. And here is an illustration of the point from moving from data protection to empowerment with data. So in the old world, we had only paper documents, which were not so good for using personal data. It was useless, basically, and also the data protection wasn't so good. Now we are moving in Europe, for example, to strong data protection regime. That's great. Then here on the left side, you see the big data giants that everybody dislikes. They are using lots of data. And we think that My Data should be the way to have the strong data protection and also let people use their data for their benefits. So people would decide. So we would get the both sides using data and having good protection. And how to make it happen and make it right. This is a slogan that we often use in My Data. So we want to make this kind of human-centric personal data infrastructure and world to actually happen, coming out from the labs and out from the small initiatives so that it's for everyday use for everybody. But at the same time, it needs to happen so that we don't kind of end up renewing some of the problems that we are having in the current data economy, or even creating worse problems. So we need to make it happen and make it right at the same time. And for that, we are working on 3 different levels in My Data. So I think the most important part for us in My Data Global is the infrastructure. I come back to tell a bit of the My Data operators soon, but we believe that there will be organizations that offer the human-centric data management infrastructure. And those organizations who offer it, they will use some sort of technologies and standards. And here we come to Swarm, for example. I believe that there will be decentralized, interoperable, globally accepted standards for many of the things that we need to in order to build that infrastructure. If the infrastructure that we rely on, if it's closed and proprietary, it's not safe and scalable. And then climbing up is the question of governance. So who decides? Who decides, and who decides who decide? And it may be that some of here think and rightly say that there shouldn't be, we should not have the organizations like trusted intermediaries. We should create good standards and that's it. That's my personal opinion, that we eventually, anyways, there is somebody doing decisions. There is some group of developers, there is some community, there is somebody who governs the decisions that we make. And this governance structure should be made visible and transparent, so that we can guarantee that the human-centric principles are followed. So now I will tell a few words about my data operators. So we are living now in this kind of API ecosystem. So many of the services that we use on daily basis, they are somehow maybe connected with some other services. Everybody talks that there should be APIs, fine. But APIs are always provided and governed by those organizations that actually set them up. And they may close them any day or change the design so that the other services get broken. So this is not very reliable model, not good for people. We don't know where our data is flowing, and it's not good for the developers either. So what's happening now is that some of the big ones, they are starting to kind of create these mega platforms that connect all sorts of data from our health to our mobility to our finances, and make it easy to access and create applications. But they are having this unitary point of control, which is not good. So we believe that the world should be so that individuals are the connection points for data related to their life, so that if somebody wants to develop a service that would be beneficial for me and would need my data, it would be enough for that party to come and ask from me. I could give these permissions, but that should be made so that we don't burden individuals under responsibilities, so that it's reliable and trustworthy system without individuals being completely left alone. Okay, these kind of my data operators, they are continuing the story of so-called trusted intermediaries, which has been developed since 90s with different names: intermediaries, vendor relationship management, life management platforms, etc. And now also more recently data trusts and cooperatives. I think that many of you are thinking now that why the heck do we need these new intermediaries? In the full decentralization, it would be okay also individual to be their own self-operator. But in my data, we look at, we don't say that it's the only way to go, that there is full decentralization or nothing at all. We see that there is kind of shades of gray and different ways to get there. And we want to study what's common there and make the interoperability between the different systems. So currently data is being collected, managed and used in silos in one company. And with this kind of intermediaries where the individual would be in control, we see that the same data could be used in different services. I could give my, let's say, loyalty card data to get better recommendations or counting my CO2 footprint or whatnot. But it should be always me making the decisions, and it should be as easy to withdraw the decision as to give the permission. And we see these operators working in ecosystems where they are interoperable. So like if you give me your phone number, I can call you, because the phone operators all around the world, they share the common standards and they have the interoperability between them. But if you look at the current day systems like Facebooks and WhatsApps, they are not interoperable between themselves. So we see that these My Data operators should work as a network, like we have network of teleoperators or networks of banks, etc. I will speed up a little bit. In this year, we published a white paper on understanding My Data operators, and we gathered roughly 50 organizations that are building this kind of infrastructure right now from 15 countries. And we approached these organizations that we knew could qualify as proto-operators. We requested them to read and comment on the paper draft and subsequently indicate if they wish to be included as proto-operators. So we have this live community of organizations that are actually doing it, and I'm welcoming you to join if you feel that you are developing some critical technology on this area. So this is just a slide of these different organizations from different countries, and there are many, hopefully some familiar names also. When these organizations, they shared what they are doing, we developed this My Data operator reference model for describing 9 core functional elements of these operators. And here you see those. Identity management, we need to know who is active in the network. Permission management, how can one give and withdraw permissions? We need to have the endpoints for the services, where can we find them? There needs to be some sort of value exchange, maybe in form of monetary exchange or some other tokens. Data needs to be interoperable at some level, so there needs to be data model management, and also personal data transfer. It needs to move at some point between different services, and personal data storage. I think here it's really interesting what Swarm is developing for decentralized data storage. And around this, there is the governance support and logging and accountability. And this interoperability part, we are now moving on so that we have asked each and every one of those services to describe how they actually implement those 9 modules. And we are making people to communicate and compare. So interoperability happens on technical level. It happens on semantic level so that we actually understand the data. It happens in legal level so that it's okay to move the data around, and on organizational level. And we should see it more widely than the technical interoperability only. I will be skipping now since I know that I'm almost end of my time, but I want to pass this journey of interoperability as the mental metaphor for this community as well. So we use it throughout to lay the initial roadmap with minimum interoperability criteria for the operators. And we start building from those minimum criteria upwards. So interoperability is more art than science. It's art of people and communities to coming together and actually acknowledging that there is a lot to gain when we work together. And everybody needs to be a little bit of patient and be open for explaining how they see the world and want to make it happen. So this is end of my story. You can download the white paper if you wish, mydata.org operators. That's the link to white paper. And if this community is interesting to you, there was the declaration, we have the white paper, and we have very active 2,500 people Slack community, and you can also join as a member if you wish. So thank you very much. And I'm pleased to hang around and hear what else happens in this Swarm event.